Good morning. It's Daily Dose with Dr. Lazar. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We've heard it said that we can only love other people to the extent that we can love ourselves or that we do love ourselves. Well, the same is true that we can only forgive others to the extent that we ourselves are forgiven or have received forgiveness or have forgiven ourselves for things. And the reality is we've all, done things we wish we hadn't or that we regret or whatever the situation may be. Well, author Jane Calwood insists that happiness depends on a person being at peace with himself or herself. She says people may describe themselves as happy, but many are grieving over their mistakes and wrong choices. And then she said, quote, they don paper hats for laughs, give anxious parties, drink too much, talk too much, and say too little. They see old age as a catastrophe, end quote. And then she says, quote, a final bad joke on the false dream of being happy, end quote. We chase our lives, our entire lives, we're chasing success, significance, fame, fortune. And I talk all the time about how we're ignoring our physical, emotional, spiritual, and relational health in the process. Well, David had gone through some of these same pretensions of happiness in the Bible. He had the palace parties, the social chatter, the endless diversions, yet he was ever haunted by his own sinfulness. My sin is always before me, he said. Now, the backstory for David is he was out hanging on top of his palace and looked and saw Bathsheba bathing on her roof. And, then the story is he got her pregnant, but she was a married woman. So then she had her husband killed on the front lines of war, and it was a mess. And so he said, "My sin is always before me. Mine would be too." I mean, that's a big deal. Only when he bowed in a desperate plea for God's forgiveness was his joy restored. And that's the part that was really cool. In Psalm 51, his joy was restored when he asked God for forgiveness. Only then was he once more in fellowship with God. Now, David suffered for his sin, for sure. In fact, he had a son that died. He had another son that tried to overthrow him and ended up killing himself. And I mean, it was messy. There definitely was suffering because of those choices he made. But the moment he prayed, healing began in his heart. So here's the point. When we disappoint ourselves, our families, and our God, my prayer is that we'd be wise enough to go immediately to God in prayer, asking for his forgiveness. Because guilt is too heavy a load for us to carry, even for a single day. That's the reality. I get to take care of people every single day. And there are a lot of times I think, this will get better as soon as you forgive yourself or as soon as you seek forgiveness. In fact, guilt is actually an unnecessary load. We don't have to carry it. When we come to Jesus, we find him more than willing to forgive and restore. Now, we don't feel like we're worth it, so oftentimes we avoid that part of it. But we don't need to hide from God like Adam did. Instead, we have to learn from David. We have to go to God, and then we'll find forgiveness as he promised. And I can tell you this with absolute certainty, that we spend our lives looking to fill those voids. You hear me talk about first and second order change oftentimes. And the gambling, the addiction, the drinking, the sex, the drugs, the shopping, the debt, whatever it is that we are, the entertainment, whatever it is that we're chasing to fill and stuff and hide and medicate and mask and pretend, it's not necessary. Literally the only place we can receive true joy. And here's the deal. I want this for you. Like, I hear people talk a lot. I think, oh my gosh, I know where they're going with this. Well, full disclosure, when we ask God for forgiveness and then we receive his forgiveness, that's the only time we can experience joy. The rest of it is just a futile attempt at us looking for happiness. All right? Hey, I hope you enjoy that. This has been Daily Dose with Dr. Lazar. I'll be back tomorrow. I hope you have a happy, joyful, forgiven day.